Bless us as we gather for this meeting. Guide our minds and hearts so that we will work for the good of our community. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in the face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. Happy holidays to all. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move for the approval of this evening's agenda.
Where were you?
Communications, a petition from the clerk.
We have a notice of claim from a Teresa Miller for damages to her son's car from, I guess, conditions on the 441 bridge is referred to the Personnel and Finance Committee. We have a resolution from Milwaukee County requesting a response from the Wisconsin Department of Health Services to questions posed by the Milwaukee County Aging and Disability Resource Center Governing Board, referred to the Public Health Department. Supporting state funding for county 911 services, one designated public service answering point per county. We got the same resolution from two counties, Price and St. Croix, referred to the Legislative and Judiciary Committees. And then a resolution from Taylor County stating opposition to the proposed lapse in state funding to Wisconsin Circuit Court System, referred to the Legislative and Judiciary Committees. A petition from Claude Foster in the town of Menasha requesting a zoning change from A2 to R2 for residential purposes, referred to Planning and Zoning. And a petition for zoning amendment from Philip Rogie in the town of Algoma requesting a zoning change from B3 commercial to I1 light industrial for a building for office space and showroom, referred to Planning and Zoning. And that's all.
Zoning petitions. Foster, Alderman Adams, Supervisor Egan.
I make. Are you going to do the other ones?
Commissions and boards.
Yeah.
Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Monday, December 1st, the Emergency Management Committee received a report from Director of Public Health Doug Gearin on the status of the Ebola readiness in the state and region. And I'm pleased to report that it appears that reasonable and prudent steps have been taken to respect individual rights, yet protect our population from exposure to the virus. You're welcome to contact me for more information. Thank you.
Supervisor Barker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the mother of 4 boys who played football for Menasha High School all through their years, I wish to congratulate the team on their victory at state.
Thank you. I will be bringing a commendation paper for that special orders meeting in the first week of January.
We thought it was going to be in this one.
Pardon?
We thought it was going to be in this one.
Just a minute.
Excuse me. We thought it was going to be in this, on this
I
agenda.
understand, and I made it was my fault that it didn't get on the agenda.
Yeah.
And it will be on the agenda for the 7th, and I apologize.
You don't have to apologize yet.
I
But,
apologize that it didn't get on.
Yeah.
It will be on the agenda.
hey, thank you.
Supervisor Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During the budget session, there was a talk about one of the departments and the TV show that they broadcast. Well, I wanted to inform the public about another program that one of the departments has on public access. That program is Rethink Winnebago, and it can be shown locally, and you can watch it for the public and the board's knowledge on CATV2 or 10.2. It's shown at Tuesdays at 9:30, Wednesday at 1 p.m. and 10 p.m., Friday at 5:30 p.m., Saturday at 2 p.m., And in the town of Algoma, it's shown Thursday through Sunday at 11 a.m. And for those who do not live in one of those areas, you can also go on YouTube as Rethink Winnebago. Also has their own channel, and you can see one of the 20 programs that they've had since they've started. And the second thing that I want to bring out, on your desk tonight, there's a poster board, and it talks about the call 211 system, and the health department and Rethink would appreciate very much if you would put this up somewhere in your district at a public place where people could see it, and then if they would need help, could rip off one of the tags. So I thank you for your indulgence, board.
Thank you. Supervisor Finch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During the last budget, there were some supervisors that kind of requested that the parks try to recover some of the cost to run the parks. So during our committee meeting this past month, we discussed user fees. We spent a little over an hour discussing what we should do, if we should do, whatever, and we decided to put it on the January agenda. So for some people who might have some more input for us, anybody is welcome to come and please give us our thoughts for our January 5th meeting at 3:45 at the Coghlan Center. The four topics we did discuss were soccer, rugby, disc golf, and dog parks. So you're all welcome to come with any input that you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Wingren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Tuesday, Monday, actually, November 24th, your legislative committee met for the first time this session. I was elected chairman. Supervisor Finch was elected as vice chairman. We had the privilege of Representative Schra giving his insight into the next legislative session. There won't be a meeting this month because of all the things that are going on, but we will meet next month, January, and hope to have all of our local legislators there to give us an update and for us to tell them what is of concern to us.
Thank you. Supervisor Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a member, county supervisor member of the Foxcom Committee, which is a integrated program of 3 counties who work together on developing a seamless emergency call system using 911, sharing data and sharing equipment so that when something happens in one county, the other counties know about it in case anything would transpire within that county. And it's supposed to work very, very well, but I just want to report here that they're having serious problems right now with the vendor, and we're trying to get some answers to what's going on with the vendor. Things haven't worked out as seamlessly as they want. There's a high level of frustration among the committee now, and there's going to be some decisions made because it just can't go on the way it is right now. It has to be more seamless than it is. The other thing I want to do is I want to follow up with Representative Norton, what he said. I'm sorry, Supervisor Norton. Rethink is one of the best kept secrets in Winnebago County. There are a number of different programs that they do out in the community. He's right, there is a YouTube presentation online for anybody who wants to find out what they're doing to help the community in lots of different areas such as substance abuse, nutrition, weight control, on and on and on. And I volunteer on the Substance Abuse Committee, and it's really enlightening for me to see the hard work and effort that these people put throughout the county to try to better the living environment for all of us.
Thank you. Supervisor Egan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On your desk tonight, you'll see the Winnebago County Fair's year-end report, which our year ends the end of November. It's from the Phillips Tax and Accounting Incorporated. We just got it the second Thursday in December. So I put one on each one of your desks. They do cost us money, so hopefully you're looking at them. If maybe in another year, if you're not going to be looking at them, we just won't get them. But anyways, here they are. If there's any questions, go ahead and ask. Otherwise, you can ask some other time. I will be giving a full report to the committee of our jurisdiction, which is the Ag and Extension Committee at the university. Probably not this month because I believe theirs is this Thursday, so it'll be in January. But that's where we always give our full report to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Haig.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple brief items. First of all, I had contacted a number of the supervisors in the Menasha Joint School District area earlier, soon after Thanksgiving perhaps, as I wanted to present a commendation to the Menasha High School football team for winning the Division II state championship. And it didn't make it on the agenda, so I just wanted to read the commendation. Whereas the Menasha High School Blue Jays football team completed its first season as undefeated champions in the Bay Conference with an 8-0 record, outscoring its opponents a combined 337 to 62. And whereas the Blue Jays mauled Menominee 35-14 in its WIAA Division II Level 1 playoff game, edged Hortonville 21-20 in Level 2, doubled up Superior 28-14 in Level 3, produced a come-from-behind 8-7 nail-biter versus Homestead in Level 4, and whereas the talented team left no doubt by soundly defeating Waukesha West 35-17 in the Division II state championship contest November 21st at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, achieving the program's first such championship in school history. Be it therefore resolved that the Winnebago County Board of Supervisors support a commendation to reflect the accomplishments of the 2014 state champion Menasha Blue Jays football team. Congratulations to head coach Jeremy Korth and the Menasha High School Blue Jays football team. I think this commendation is going to appear on the January agenda, hopefully, and maybe we can have somebody from the team or the athletic director or the coach here to accept the commendation on the school's football team's outstanding accomplishments. Secondly, at the end of the year now, beginning of 2015, taxpayers are going to start to see their property tax bills in the mail. I just want to remind the taxpayers of the county that the gift that this board presented to them with a 0.33% unused levy capacity. What that means is we could have levied up to $664,011, but this board didn't do that. We only levied $63,448,100, which is 99.67 of what we could have possibly taxed the taxpayers of Winnebago County. So I do use that 0.33% somewhat sarcastically. I think that we can do better. Also, in reflecting upon a news story I saw recently, Winnebago County is in the top 10 counties of Wisconsin's 72 counties for food share recipients. As I stated during the budget proceedings, the number of taxpayers is declining in the county, and hopefully during this next year, this board will help do something to stimulate economic development in the county so that we can take our name off of this list of percentage of citizens living below the federal poverty line in 2013, and hopefully also reduce taxes in this county so that next year we won't have to report that we gave taxpayers a 0.33% Christmas present. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Robel.
Oh, thank you. I didn't have my, I think you forgot to turn it off. Oh. Yeah.
Approval of the proceedings from November 18th, 2014 meeting. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. County Executives Report.
It's my custom to point out at least one resolution on each meeting that I think deserves special consideration. And there's a resolution 102-12-2014 with regarding authorizing a transfer from the General Contingency Fund to a stormwater mitigation project to benefit Parkview. My understanding of what this is about is that when we improved county-wide, we did some changes that helped drain the exposition center. And that area now drains much better than it used to, but it drains into the park system. And now the park ponding system carries a lot more stormwater than it had in the past. And what we've discovered was happening that in a heavy rain, the water level in the park's pond system would reach the level of the storm drain in Parkview's loading dock, so that rather than that adequately draining the loading dock, that would already be full of water. So this project is to disconnect the system at Parkview from the park's ponding system and develop a swell to carry that water away so that that area won't flood in instances of very heavy rain. I do also want to address some confusion on the taxes. Every community's taxes are going to be a little different because what the county does is it determines what the overall increase in the levy is. And that's allocated by equalized values of the communities. So that the tax bills will be a little higher in communities that appreciated more than the average, and a little lower in communities that appreciated less than the average. But overall, the average tax bill should be down slightly from last year. And I did want to comment on the 0.33%. From one perspective, that is technically correct. If you look at the total county levy and you compare the total county levy against the total allowable levy, the difference is a very small difference. But remember how that's computed. Each year's allowable levy is based on the prior year's levy, plus net new construction. We had net new construction of roughly 1%. So even if we didn't have any additional levy whatsoever, we would be at a 99% level, because the prior year's levy is, the base, and you can only add to that the net new construction, which was about 1%. I think a more meaningful way to look at that is of the additional taxes we could have taken based on the net new construction, how much of that increase increment did we actually take? And that was about 3/4. So we did take 3/4 of what was allowed and left 1/4 of that increment not to be taken for the benefit of the property tax holder. So what we did is we increased the total levy by an amount that was about 3/4 of what we would be allowed to take. But if you look at it from the perspective of the total levy, the 0.33 number is correct, but when you're in a time period with net new construction numbers of about 1%, if you had no increase in the levy, you'd still be at 99% of the allowable amount, because the only increase is the net new construction. And the reason you can have the average tax bill go down slightly, despite a small increase in the tax levy, is because anytime you take an increase that's less than the increase in the size of the base, then the average bill should go down slightly. And that's what happened. I do have 2 appointments tonight. And this is regarding the appointments to the Winnefox Library System Board of Trustees. And subject to the board approval, I'm nominating Tom Widener and Elizabeth Irish to 3-year terms, which will expire December 31st, 2017.
Is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. County Chairman's report. Well, we had a very nice Christmas party last night. I want to thank everybody for coming. Oh, I'm sorry. Supervisor Haig.
A question for the county executive. At last month's meeting, he was asked to prepare a report as to why the new brush was not being used at the airport to clear the snowfall off the runway.
Yes, the hydraulics on the new broom truck were not operating properly, so we've returned that to the manufacturer who's working on those issues, but they did loan us a new broom truck to use in the interim until they repair that.
So that's what they used during that snowfall? Or they found out there was a problem with the hydraulics after the first snowfall and had to clear the runway by different means?
I think that's correct, that it wasn't operating as it should, so that they weren't able to use it when they first intended to do so. And if you'll remember, when we bought that truck, I think the one we got was a prototype, and that's why we got it significantly less than the cost of a new one. And that sometimes happens because you're getting basically the first product. But luckily they are loaning us another one to use until they repair that one and get the hydraulics working in a proper manner.
Thank you.
Supervisor Warnke.
I just want to expand on that conversation about the blower. There was some problems with the computer, and they found out about it just when we had this small snowstorm. And right away, truck moved in, and they took it over and gave us another one to use. I don't think that this is a place to bring this up on the county board floor. This is, as far as I'm concerned, you're trying to tell people how to run something. It can happen anywhere. And the highway department, if one of their trucks breaks down, you don't hear about it on the county floor. So why should it be brought out here? This problem is being handled, and we are not here to tell them how to do everything out at that airport.
Supervisor Olson.
I just want to concur with my colleague, Mr. Warnke. He's correct in stating that I'm sure there are mechanical breakdowns all over the county. What happens if a plow can't work or they can't pour sand or something? Far be it for me to question the people about that, because I know they're going to get the job done and get the job done right and get the job done accordingly. So I absolutely agree that this is not the time or place to tell people how to do their jobs. Thank you.
Supervisor Norton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This can even be answered by either you or the county executive. Since both of you are members of the Industrial Development Board, could you explain to us or tell us what actions you took a couple of weeks ago to address what Mr. Haig brought up about creating economic development in this county?
Go ahead.
Well, in general terms, we do have a per capita fund that's allocated to each community within the county based on their population. And then they can designate that money to an economic development unit that has at least one full-time employee. So basically all the communities within the county do receive funds from the county of roughly $1 per person to help fund local economic development efforts. I would also argue that the acreage that we acquired, and for which several grants have been given to help us get the infrastructure in partnership with the city to build a new 80-acre aviation industrial park, is another effort for economic expansion.
We will give a complete report at our January 6th or 7th meeting on what went on there, because we did loan out money to different businesses so that they could add for more jobs. I mean, it's much more involved than what was just reported, but we'll give a complete report on that in January meeting.
If I could just add, we have two revolving loan funds. One that's funded initially with federal money, and that goes to businesses. They have to be in an area, low income area, and there's pay requirements on, and a requirement that they retain or create jobs to access those funds. And then we have a second revolving loan fund that the county takes virtually no risk on, but it is county money. And the reason we aren't taking a risk is we only loan it to municipalities that promise to back the loan with their taxing authority, but we loan it to them for the specific purpose of them loaning to an approved business within their jurisdiction that they feel will be good for their economy for it to receive loans. And we make a small spread between what we would have made on those funds if they were deposited with our traditional depository institutions. We make a little bit more money on it than we would if we just left it, for instance, in the money market account at the bank. So we make a little bit of money. We don't take any significant risk because it's backed by municipalities' borrowing power and taxing power. And then that municipality is the one taking a risk, but they're using the funds to encourage economic development. And that's what Dave's talking about. We approved one such loan at our last IDB meeting.
Okay, thank you. Well, I explained that the mishap was the football team, and we'll be having that presentation, or we'll be bringing that forward on the board or at the January board meeting. But I also wanted to say thank you for coming to the Christmas party who showed up, because it was a very good time and everybody seemed to enjoy themselves, and the department heads, everybody, it worked out very well. I'd like to go on to presentation on the 911 phone system replacement project. Patty Francoeur, the department head from Information Systems, will be.
Good evening. I am Patty Francoeur, Director of IS, and with me is Captain Mark Habeck from the Sheriff's Department. And if needed, we have Gina Iden from my department as well for support. We're here tonight to present to you our request to replace the 911 phone system. You should have received a four-page packet, a four-page report in your packet ahead of time. So we would just like to highlight some of the aspects of the request, and then we can take any questions. First, I'd like to define the two phone systems involved. The administrative phone system serves the entire county, essentially everything outside of 911. The 911 phone system is specific to the dispatchers only. These systems both must be compatible with our network environment, so IS and the Sheriff's Office have worked together to bring this request forward tonight. As with any software and hardware solution, time and good judgment force an upgrade. With the anticipation of the end of this system's life cycle, the 911 phone system has been in the capital improvement program for a couple years. IS started the administrative phone system upgrade this summer with the expectation of interfacing with the current 911 phone system. The decision to pursue a new 911 system came before the admin system was completed, so we weighed our options to maximize efficiencies in changing both. The 911 RFP was written to include all of the existing 911 system's functionality. However, in digging into details of the initial responses, we saw a less expensive solution and created an amendment to the RFP. The estimated savings with these changes are reflected in the summary you received at the $100,000 over the next 5-year amount. So again, we're here now hoping to present this and hoping to have you vote next month, because timing is important with coordinating the tasks of changing both systems. After carefully evaluating our options, the most cost-effective plan is to complete the admin project as we anticipated and allow the 911 project to occur as it can be scheduled. It'll be dependent on the approval and then the availability of the vendor selected resources. The safest plan to have the best continuity of service during this transition and eliminate any need to extend support would be to go ahead with completing the admin side and, again, allowing the 911 to proceed as the RFPs as we choose. With the summary of this detailed report and what you received in your packet, we'll now take any questions.
Supervisor Olson.
Hi, Patty.
Hey, Ken.
I need clarification, because
Okay.
I'm confused. How does this relate to Foxconn?
It's not.
It's not related at all?
No, because this just
So
serves...
every county has their own 911 system?
No, do you want to speak to that? It's just the phone system. It's not the CAD, the dispatch.
It's the phone system, not the dispatch. Okay.
Yes.
That's what I need to know.
Okay.
Supervisor Finch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would that be the same as, you got down just one ambulance service? Is that for just, do we only have one throughout the county?
That refers to Gold Cross. The other ambulance services would be incorporated into the fire departments. For instance, Oshkosh Fire Department runs an ambulance service, but we would count them as a fire department.
All right. I just don't want somebody to be caught short in some emergency that could happen. Thank you.
Supervisor Eisen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a question for Captain Habik. Captain Habik, could you compare, contrast, or fit together this proposal request for the 9/11 replacement system with what the Sheriff's Office has accomplished in updating the 9/11 call system and the interrelationship with Outagamie County and that whole user network? Could you put this into the broader perspective, please?
Sure. Our 911 systems are separate. Outagamie, Calumet, Winnebago each have our own phone system. However, Winnebago and Outagamie act as each other's backup site. So for instance, earlier this week, Outagamie had an issue in which they needed to route their calls to Winnebago County, and we were able to handle those calls for approximately an hour until they were back up. Likewise, we have that same functionality. If an issue happens in Winnebago, we can rely on Outagamie County for a short term. Outside of the 911 system and separate, we do partner with Outagamie and Calumet through Foxcom on the computer-aided dispatch system. That was recently upgraded, and we went on to a new CAD system in March of this year. And then outside of Foxcom, but jointly with Outagamie County, Winnebago County partners and shares the infrastructure on our radio system. And we also went live on the new radio system earlier this year. Each county has their own distinct system with their own towers, but all of the control equipment that operates that system is shared. And that sharing of equipment saves both counties money, both in scale with the vendor services, maintenance contracts, things like that. Does that answer your question?
Well, now what is this that you're requesting? Okay, in this, within that broad picture that you've painted for us, where does this fit?
This is specifically related to when you pick up a phone and dial 911 within Winnebago County, we get all of those calls. Every 911 call, either placed by a landline in Winnebago County, comes to us. Any 911 call placed by a cellular phone that hits a tower in Winnebago County comes to us. And the Sheriff's Office is responsible for answering all those calls and then dispatching the appropriate public safety agency, whether that be law, fire, or EMS. So this request is related specifically to the 911 phone lines. And obviously 911 calls play a part in the other two systems. We use the CAD system that we recently upgraded to enter the information that we receive from callers. The CAD system recommends which agencies, the type of emergency request tells us the type of agency to dispatch. That's all handled by CAD. And then obviously the dispatchers notifying the appropriate law, fire, or EMS agency. They use our new radio system to do that. If you take away any one of those three, obviously we would have significant communication problems. But 911 is really the primary means of access for citizens and the public to reach us in case of an emergency, and that's what this addresses.
Okay, then if I'm hearing you correctly, there was an upgrade of a function of the system recently, which fits together with Outagamie County. This new replacement is for the residual equipment that was not upgraded?
No, this is a separate standalone system. This is strictly telephone. So we have functionality with Outagamie County, like I said, as far as we can switch our phones so that Outagamie answers those or vice versa. We'll maintain that functionality with the upgrade, but we're talking strictly telephone calls right now.
Okay, the other system is communication with the patrol on the beat.
Right, that would be the radio system.
That is, this particular aspect of the communication system, of the 911 system, is simply the intake of data, which would upgrade our consoles in the sheriff's.
It's strictly the incoming telephone calls through 911, and as part of that, it does upgrade the hardware and the software related to the telephone system. So
would you have any idea where Outagamie County is in respect to this comparable upgrade that we would experience with this? Would this have any, issues in terms of functioning together?
No, our recommendation would be to stay with our current vendor, which is AT&T, provides the Intrado 911 product, and that's also what Outagamie County has. And Outagamie County is not ready at this time. Their system's a little bit newer than our system, not much, but we're not on the same replacement cycle with Outagamie County.
Okay, there won't be any issues in the functioning between the two. Thank you.
Supervisor Egan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is, I'm sure, been studied for quite a while. Was this put in the budget this last year? And if not, I want to know why.
It was placed in the capital improvement plan.
For this year?
Yes, it was in 2015, both this upcoming CIP for 2015, as well as it was in at least 2014's version. It was projected out into 2015 in the CIP.
Thank you.
Supervisor Farley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I might clarify, your explanation, you're requesting an enhancement of the 911 system, but what system services the town fire departments?
In what respect? Because if anyone anywhere calls 911, they come to the sheriff's office communications center. There's no other answering point in Winnebago County that answers 911 calls.
So that system also takes care of, specifically I'm referring to controlled burns. They're called in frequently. Is there some insurance if we improve this system that will be continued? That's provided to the town's fire departments?
That's just an internal policy that.
But as part of this system, which is the CAD system you're saying?
No, this is just the telephones. The controlled burns and someone calling in to notify us of a controlled burn, that stays in place. That really doesn't have a bearing on
But that does go through the 911 system.
If they call 911 instead of the non-emergency line.
Okay, I see.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Zoning reports and ordinances. A mandatory ordinance number 3, Ross and Katie Thompson, Town of Clayton. Is that yours, Tom? Supervisor Egan? Supervisor Fari?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, but I believe that goes to County Board District 36. It's right on the resolution.
Go ahead.
Look for a motion for approval of mandatory ordinance number 3.
You have to talk into your mic.
Sorry. Looking for a motion for approval of mandatory ordinance number 3.
It's been moved and seconded to approve a mandatory ordinance number 3. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Mandatory ordinance number 4, Supervisor Egan. And we're going to take all of them at once. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. A mandatory ordinance number 5, Robert and Janet Dahl, Town of Black Wolf. So Supervisor Keller?
I move approval of a mandatory 5.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Mandatory ordinance number 6. Yes? Supervisor Fari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was asked, let's go back to a mandatory ordinance number 4, and if Mr. Egan could give a brief explanation of why all those properties are being requesting to be rezoned. I'm told it had something to do with the Farm Pres program and shoreland, Winnebago County shoreline jurisdiction. So, Mr. Egan, I hate to put you on the spot, but I was asked that by several supervisors. Perhaps if you could take a minute.
That's no problem. That's exactly what it is. It's the town of Utica over there has gone through all their properties now. Matter of fact, one of the supervisors is in the back. And they want some of the changes on there to go along with their Ag 2 and Royal Residential and that. And that's exactly what they did. So all these properties here are the ones that they're going to be changing. And they're going to do them all at once. The town is going to do them. That's what they requested.
And they were all zoned A1 under the old Farm Pres program. Not the new one, no, but the old one, correct?
Right, because they will have some that will be going the other way also.
Yeah. Thank you.
Supervisor Kreischer?
I'll handle ordinance number 6.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll start over. Mandatory ordinance number 6, Ricky Callis, Town of Poigan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion for approval of amendment of mandatory ordinance number 6.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. A mandatory ordinance number 7, Marvin and Betty Bradley, Town of Utica. Supervisor Egan.
For the approval of mandatory ordinance number 7.
It's been moved and seconded to approve a mandatory ordinance number 7. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. A mandatory ordinance number 8, Town of Utica. Numerous amendments to the Town of Utica zoning code. Supervisor Egan.
I move for the approval of mandatory ordinance number 8.
Been moved and seconded to approve a mandatory ordinance number 8. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 102, 12-2014. Authorize a transfer of $55,000 from the General Contingency Fund to a stormwater mitigation project for the Parkview Health Center. Supervisor Roll.
I move for the acceptance of resolution 102-122-014. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution number, pardon? Resolution number 103-12-2014. Authorize the transfer of $18,393 from the UW Fox Valley Grounds Maintenance Project Fund and saving on other capital purchases to fund for the purchase of a snow removal equipment to be added to a turf mower that was included in the UW Fox Valley's 2014 budget. Supervisor Widener.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval of Resolution 103-12-2014.
Been moved and seconded. Supervisor Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. During the course of the year, we've gotten a few of these transfers of funds for other things as part of UW Fox Valley. And I have a couple of questions and a comment. The first question is, why wasn't this in the original budget?
It was an error, and we had made an error in the specifications.
What would happen if the airport we made an error like this? What do you think the vote would be?
I probably wouldn't question it.
You wouldn't question it?
No.
I think there'd be a lot of other people in this room that would question it. My point is that I'm not going to vote against this. My point is that an oversight was made here. It's being corrected. The money will probably be transferred, and it's the correct way to operate this. But I dare say that if this was a different area in a different department, this would not have passed. Thank you.
Supervisor Haig. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regards to the $12,847 savings from other programs, can you give a kind of a brief ledger of where the savings was in the other projects?
Sure, we had two projects. One was a water softener project. Another one was a carpet renewal project, both of which came in under budget. The item that we're taking out, that we're going to delay, is the permanent windscreens on the tennis courts. The reason we did that is because we discovered that the tennis courts themselves are in bad shape. We did not want to spend the money on the windscreens, until we had resolved what the courts will be done. Once we determine what that could be, we will come back with a separate item in the future to handle that item.
Thank you.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution number 104-12-2014. Transfer $170,000 from the 2014 County Trunk Highway Y Mill and Pave project to the County Trunk Highway T project to cover unanticipated costs. Supervisor Robel.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move for the approval of Resolution 104-12-2014.
Been moved and seconded. We'll vote by our little iPad. Vote aye if you approve, no if you disapprove. That is passed. Resolution number 105-12-2014. Establish policy for county highway weight limits as provided in the 2013 Act 377 and Section 348, Parent 15, Parent 3G, Wisconsin statutes. Supervisor Robel.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll move for the approval of Resolution 105-12-2014.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Resolution 106-12-2014, support state funding for County 911 services. Supervisor Wingren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move approval of Resolution 106-12-2014.
Been moved and seconded.
Somewhat recently, you received a copy of the 2015 to 16 WCA legislative agenda. That is in both of these resolutions are goals of the WCA for the upcoming session. So basically what we're saying is we heard you, we support you.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution 107-12-2014. Oppose proposed lapse in state funding to circuit court system. Supervisor Wingren.
I move approval of Resolution 107-12-2014. Same reason as the previous one.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolution 108-12-2014. Amend the table of organization for Winnebago County Department of Human Services. Supervisor Rasmussen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for approval of resolution number 108-12-2014.
It's been moved and seconded. Supervisor Skellinger.
Can somebody answer the question about what would be the difference between the psychiatric nurse and a team case manager? Specifically, what is a psychiatric nurse able to do that a case manager can't?
Mr. Topol, the Director of Human Services, will answer.
Hi, sure, I'll be glad to answer that. The psychiatric nurse is able to administer medications for mentally ill individuals, and a case manager by law cannot administer those medications.
And so is that a function that we typically use the current 3 nurses for?
Yeah, we have currently 3 nurses going down to 2. The position we're talking about, 20% of their job was to do the function of, in addition to the other 2 full-time psychiatric nurses. We believe that that function can be absorbed by the present 2 nurses, and we can expand case management time with the new position.
Thank you.
Supervisor Farley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is, was this an oversight during the budget process, or has something happened since the budget to bring this forward?
Sure. Good question. We just got notice that the person who occupies this position is planning on retiring, and we didn't know that at the time of the budget deliberations.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
It was moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I'd like to wish everybody a Happy New Year's and Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah. We are adjourned. I don't see anybody's late.
No, Kenny was just waiting.